Hey guys, welcome to the final part of my hand history review of my biggest win ever. Now that we've made the final table and we've made it to miracle territory, it's time to make the most of the opportunity because you never know when it's going to come around again. If you haven't yet watched parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, I invite you to do so to see how we got here and so that you can learn exactly what you need to do to make final tables in the tournaments that you play. Now that we've got that in place, let's get into the action and see just how much money we can make on this here final table.
So here with king 8 off, we're getting the right price to defend. We're going to have about 20% chance of winning, more than that if we call. We're going to be pretty short, so if we flop a pair, we'd have to go with it. Now, two factors at play. One, I'm the shortest stack, so I have nothing to lose by getting involved and everything to gain by trying to build up my chips, especially with, everyone's pretty shallow actually. But since I'm the short man on the totem pole, people are really going to focus on waiting for me to go out next, so I can't expect to just wait people out. But that said, king 8 is a hand that could be dominated by a lot of hands, could get me in a lot of trouble. Even when I flop top pair, I'm pretty confident with top pair. But if I flop a pair with the 8, I don't really know if I should go with it or not. So for that reason, despite the fact I was getting the right price to defend from a math perspective, a chip EV perspective, because of the payout considerations, I did not want to take those odds, and I did not want to expose myself to the risk, the potential of getting eliminated. Because if I call here and I make a pair, I have to go with the hand. So I'm inviting variance to my stack. Whereas I said, I'm fine with my chip stack how it is. I'll find a way to cruise with my five big blinds. I'll find my spot. But seeing how short that I am now, maybe it's worth a defend there. But we say, oh look, we just fold through and we have a chance of making 6 G's if H nevs holds with 10s, but Radual got there with queen 10 suited, and now he's got all the chips. So we get a jam from Blue Tom and a call from Ronaldo, and 9s are better than 7s. And we made more money. But you know what? I want to check both that hand and I want to check Radual's shove with queen 10 suited. I think his shove with queen 10 suited here is totally fine. But I'd like to run it through ICMizer to be sure. And so we want to see what his shoving range should be. Queen 10 suited is a profitable shove. And Big Blind's the one who called off. Let's see what BB's calling range is. He can definitely call with 10s. So both players play this hand totally fine. Yeah, H Nevi's just got unlucky to lose in this spot. Now this hand with the 9s and 7s, I think also this is just a bit of a cooler. Blue Tom has 7s on 13 blinds, but because I'm so short and because Lucky Dan is so short and odds are someone's going to go out in the next orbit, I think that he may be risking too many chips with 7s here. Although there's kind of no other way to play 7s but shoving, maybe the best play is actually to fold those 7s. Let's see. Wow. They think he should go that wide? Wild. Okay. And ICMizer thinks that he should shove very wide because it thinks that the other players can't call wide. Let's see what Big Blind should call with. It's suggesting Big Blind has to call very tight. And it's suggesting Big Blind has to call very tight because the same way I said, Blue Tom has to worry about getting knocked out, H Nevis and Radual don't want to call with a lot of hands either because they're in the same situation. They're guaranteed to just make more money if they just chill with their chip stacks. So by taking on variance, by taking on risk, they're potentially throwing a lot of money away. So that's why it's saying that actually Blue Tom can shove really wide. And that's the thing with ICM, if there are a few big stacks, it's usually the guy who pushes first can do it with a lot of hands, but the guy who is in the calling position can do it with very few hands. So when you have a big stack, you can play very aggressively. You can put a lot of pressure on the other players because strategically, because of the payout structure, because of the pay jumps, they cannot call you with many hands. They need an extremely good hand to call when there are short stacks in play. And that's how you kind of play the different stack sizes off each other when you're on a final table to pick up some extra chips. And 9s beats 7s. And that was a great result for us because we bumped up to $17,390. And we got ace 9 on the next hand, which we were happy to go with. So I called here. Being the short stack, I felt that, you know, I gotta take a chance at some point. I'm probably not going to be able to wait out anyone else. I'm probably not going to make any extra money by just waiting around. So I thought that this was a spot I had to go with, but let's run it in ICMizer just to be sure. Hero call is yeah. So this is ICM dollar EV. So it says calling here is making $1,000. Calling with ace deuce would be worth 120, and so on and so forth. So because we're the short stack, because we're in dead last, and we're very shallow and soon to get eliminated, we should take the chance. And actually, if we click this button here, future game simulation, that factors in more hands and the fact that you're gonna hit the blinds sooner and lose more chips then. And when we factor that in, it's even more of a call. So we call with ace 9, we chop with ace 10, lucky. And we're still in the mix with 3 blinds, 2.5 blinds, man. Wow, hyper turbos are crazy. We have 2.5 big blinds. And we're like, yo, we're going to make it work, man. We're going to make it last with this 375K. This is the spot. If we wait till next hand, we have to call off, because we'll have half our stack out there. And so when we get an above average hand, such as King 5 suited, it's just a go. But again, we're going to pop this into ICMizer, and we only go with the above average hands. We don't go with just any hand here. We get rid of future game simulation. Hero. We want to do all in. And we want to... Hero's all in. There's nothing to analyze. When Hero's all in, he cannot fold. Okay, we'll go no action. Okay. There we go. So we got the blinds there. So let's calculate the Nash. And actually, it's thinking we should shove really light, really narrow. Interesting. I guess it's saying that because of the potential of the button going out next hand, but let's see if we put future game simulation, if that changes it. Yeah. So knowing that the blinds are about to hit us, we should shove a lot more hands than if we didn't factor in that we were about to pay the big blind. So this future game simulation button is a good one to click when you want to analyze, you know, okay, what are the effects with the next orbit? I think future game simulation factors in one more round, and it basically sees if you're going to lose your fold equity, and it acknowledges that if you're going to lose your fold equity, you should shove with more hands than you would if your fold equity would remain intact. I hope that that makes sense. So we shove with King 5 suited, and we hold against 9 deuce, and suddenly we got 5 bigs. And we get jammed on, fold. And now that we're not the short stack, we're waiting for Lucky Dan Ace to get eliminated. We're looking for that pay jump that can come from his elimination. But with a fold, King 10 suited, too strong. Gotta go with it. We get it in. Called by Jack 10. Hit him with the holdage. And I just want to confirm, I just want to make sure that I'm making the right decisions, because I'm trying to learn from this hand history so the next time I play, I can be in a better spot. And I want to see, is King 10 suited a shove? Definitely. Definitely a shove. Not a fist pump shove, but it's a shove. Profitable shove. So nice that that was correct. And then what about big blind? Is big blind supposed to call with Jack 10? He sure is. for a couple reasons. The first is he can afford it. It's not a huge dent to his stack. It's 400K of his 1.8 million, so it's only 25% of his chips. We talked earlier, when it's a quarter, a fifth of your chips, you can gamble a lot more freely, take closer spots than you can when it's a third or like half of your chips. And also, if he eliminates me, then he's going to be almost tied for first and basically guaranteed to get in the top two because Lucky Dan's so short. So it's worth trying to eliminate me from the tournament. Unfortunately for him, we had him dominated. Unfortunately for us, we held. And Lucky Dan Ace goes for it with Ace 5, holds against Queen 9. And I think the play by H Nevs was fine here. Although, if I'm in his spot, I think it's kind of greedy for him to want to isolate. Because we have the potential to just all make an extra 8K, I think it'd be better for him to just call the 100K so that him and Radul can check it down. Sure, he doesn't have as much chance of winning the 600K in the middle, but he doubles the chances that this player will be eliminated, and we all get the pay jump. So personally, I think this was a bit over-aggressive by him, and that calling and checking it down would be much better. Because, even if we do a random hand, so we had a Ace 5 offsuit against Queen 9 offsuit, and we saw that the Ace 5 is a 60% favorite. But if we just add in a random hand, which is what Radul would have had, suddenly the ace drops to 40%. So from, I want to clear that. Stop. Clear. So if it's heads up, the Ace 5 holds 60% of the time, and the Queen 9 gets 42. If you let the third hand in there, the chance for the ace drops from 57 to 40, and you only go from 43 to 10. So he's only losing a 10% winning chance, but he's boosting the chance that a player gets eliminated by 15%. So it's kind of like, although he loses a slight advantage, for the greater good, it's worth it because everyone gains when a player is eliminated. And you don't have to be the guy to make the eliminations. You just have to do what you can to facilitate that elimination happening. So he doesn't get there, gets punished. Now this is an interesting spot with King 5. It's an interesting spot with King 5 because Radul is shoving very wide. And if we look at this from a chip EV perspective, he's going in with a lot of hands. We only have 6 blinds. We have King High. It's an above average hand. We're probably ahead of his shoving range. If we look at it from a chip EV perspective, I think it's probably a call with King 5. He's shoving 77%. We calculate hero, King call with King 5. In fact, King 5's netting a big blind. Now this is where ICM's really a thing, because this is just looking at, does this make chips? Yes. When we switch the filter to ICM, now it switches from does this make chips to does this make money? Which, when we're playing a tournament, we're trying to make the most money. We're not just trying to make the most chips. And against that, you see it's nowhere close to a call. Nowhere close to a call whatsoever. In fact, calling here would be losing us $2,000. And if we add in future game simulation, let's see if it changes anything. It's about the same. So that's really the difference between ICM. When you're on the final table or you're at the literal money bubble, you want to use the ICM setting so you can see if your play makes money. When you're far away from the money, or just at any point in the tournament, you can just use chip EV because you just want to see if your play makes chips. When the pay jumps are very minimal or when you're far from the money, you just want to know if you're making chips or not. But once you're on the final table, where the payouts, are so significant, 17K for fourth, but 25K for third, 33K for second, 45K for first. You don't just want to know if your play makes chips, you want to know if your play makes money. Because tournament poker is so much about, navigating your chip stack to get the biggest potential payout from the chips that you have. It's not about getting every single chip until the end. It's about making the most money off the stack that you have, maximizing your expected value given the stack that you have, given the position that you're in. And that's how you make money in the long run in tournaments. So we fold there with the king 5. And I remember saying in the video, that's why we fold with the king 5 there, because, well, you'll see in a minute what can happen. Queen 3, we go for the shove. I'll put that one in ICMizer too. Again, it's the spot where we can shove wide because it's hard to call off when there are pay jumps in play. Calculating. Even though he's supposed to call us with any 2, we can shove with queen 3. Now, if we put in ICM, because that's just chip EV, then we can still shove with queen 3, and he's still supposed to call with any 2. The reason he's supposed to call with any 2 is because he's putting in 300 to win 1 like a million, 1.2 million. And he's in last place anyway. So if he folds, he's probably going to get 4th. But if he calls and wins, he has a chance to get 3rd, maybe even 2nd. He'll be tied for 2nd at that point. Plus, he's just getting the right price. He needs a 26% chance of winning, and odds are he has that. So he was supposed to call here, and we're still supposed to shove with queen 3. He did not call here, and we got that through. So we made good decisions on the final table, looks like. And Lucky Dan's back down to no chips. And I'm glad we made good ICM decisions, because then this happens. Lucky Dan goes all in, H-Nevs goes all in, Radul ISOs, and King 9 suited is not as good as King Jack, is not as good as Queen 6. And it's interesting, Again, H-Nevs could have just called here. But instead, he went for the greed. He's like, I want to ISO it. I want it for myself. And Radul's like, all right, well, I know you're doing that wide. We saw last orbit that he's doing that wide. So Radul's like, all right, I'm going to call you with King Jack. And he busted him. That's how he got heads up. So I just want to check if everyone's calls were good here. 3-6. Throw this in. Paste hand history. Let's do it with ICM. And let's see. Button is supposed to jam with anything. Why is this locked? Calculate. Button's supposed to jam with anything. Small blind is supposed to call with King 9 suited. And it looks like Radul, yeah, King 2 offsuit and plus. So everyone played this hand fine. Everyone played this hand profitably. But I think the way H-Nevs played it was unnecessary, especially with me being short as well. I think he could have just called. And then if he got jammed on, maybe call, maybe check. Anyway, with that double elimination, we had $33,700 locked up. And we were heads up. And the spot that I'm curious about, so I'll just confirm all these spots. I think 7-6 suited is a shove. Let's paste hand history. And once you're heads up, you don't need to worry about ICM because there's no pay jumps to be had, so you can just go back to chip EV. And so we calculate Nash, and we see 7-6 suited is profitable for 90K chips. We shove, get called, get lucky, get very lucky. 4-7, not a call. Now, I want to know if 7-3 suited was a shove, because I remember we got blinded down here heads up. We got kind of ran over heads up. And I wasn't sure if it was because we weren't shoving enough hands or if we were just card dead. Because I know when we're really shallow, we're supposed to shove the button very aggressively. I don't know if it quite has 7-3 offsuit in it. 7-3 offsuit is not a shove, so this fold was fine. And this is the hand that I was most curious about, because in the moment, I felt someone was telling me I should call here. And I did not call with this hand. I folded, as you can see, but something told me you're supposed to call here. And when we look back on the replay, I think he actually had like 8-5 offsuit or something. So I actually did have the best hand. But we see that according to equilibrium play, it's actually a losing call. So I had some weird intuition that, like, yeah, call, run it. But I would have looked silly if I called and was wrong. But I could have got lucky. The other reason I liked calling here was that if I won, I'm a 2-to-1 chip leader. I've put myself in a position to really take it down. Whereas, as we see, I get shorter and shorter and shorter, and then I have to double up just to get back to where I was. This might be a shove. In fact, I think this is probably a mistake, because on 8 big blinds, I think having a face card is enough to jam. Let's see. Yeah. Nope. Jack 2 is a fold. 5-4 is definitely a fold. We can't call an all-in with 5 high. Let's see, about 10-4 on this stack size. Let's see, 10-4. Nope, 10-4 is not there. And then we have the last hand of the tournament. We have King 4, where he shoves, we call, and we lose to 6-10 suited. And let's run this through just to confirm. Why do I keep closing ICMizer by mistake? So according to the charts, according to equilibrium play, according to ICMizer, we made all the right decisions heads up. We simply lost heads up because of the cards, so King 4 was a call. The one time my intuition told me to do something that equilibrium wouldn't suggest, I was actually correct, but I can't explain that, and I didn't act on it. So I mean, how much is it really worth when we don't act on our intuition? But pretty sweet. Good to see that I played heads up pretty much perfectly. Good to see that I played the final table perfectly, because that's what I was really hoping I could do, is that if I ever found myself at a final table, that having watched so many people play final tables, having studied so many final tables, I would understand independent chip modeling enough, ICM enough to make the right decisions. And that's where practicing with a program like ICMizer will really, really help you get that stuff down. The more you do this with your hand histories, the more you do this with your friends' hand histories, the more you're just going to understand it and see, like, I get it. I get how the payout structures affect my decision-making process, and you're going to adjust accordingly. Just remember to use the ICM EV setting. We also learned from this hand history that I didn't shove wide enough in the early stages. I was a little too afraid to gamble in the early stages. I made some raises that were completely pointless and that I shouldn't have made. I should have shoved more hands. I should have min-raised less hands. And other than that, I felt like I played pretty good. That's
it. We did it. That is how, with a little bit of skill and a little bit of luck, you can turn $200 into $33.7 thousand. Absolutely insane payday. A payday that really changed the course of my life. It set me more at ease. It covered a lot of my expenses so I could relax, not worry about any financial pressures, and just do what I really wanted to do. And by getting into that mindset, that mind state, I was able to get the biggest win of my career 2 weeks later, because I was playing from the right place. So momentum is a real thing, and that's why it's really beneficial to review all your past wins so you can learn from them what worked and apply them to your next events, and stop doing what didn't work. I absolutely loved doing this hand history review and enjoyed so much sharing it with you. I hope you learned a thing or two that's going to help you make better decisions in tournaments and ultimately win more money. In this final part of the series, we once again reviewed the difference between chip EV and ICM EV, and when to use each one for calculating our spots and deciding if it's a profitable shove or a profitable call. We also really focused on the importance of learning how to navigate your stack through the final table, because poker tournaments aren't just about getting first place. The goal in poker tournaments is to maximize your equity with the stack that you have. So if you come into the final table in 5th or 6th and you're able to get second, that's a great result. Whereas if you come in second and you go out fourth or fifth, you probably did something wrong. Or you just didn't achieve your ideal outcome. You're not always going to come into the final table in first place, and sometimes the difference in chips is going to be so much that trying to go for first just isn't the optimal strategy. And I think we really saw a lot of that in this tournament, and we also saw that once you get heads up, anything can happen. So it's fine to shoot for the top 3 and then to take your chances and make your moves and see if you can get lucky and get the big score. We talked a little bit about when to isolate players versus when to invite other players in so you can increase your chances of eliminating another player, which tied back to the concept earlier, the importance of getting people to fold out their equity share as opposed to bringing them in. Early in the tournament, you just want to knock people out of the pot so you have a better chance of winning what's in the middle because there's no pay jumps. But at the final table, because eliminating players guarantees that you get more money, it can often make sense to invite other players to call the all-in and just check it down to increase the odds of eliminating that player and increase the odds of everyone making more money. And the main thing that we really learned from this experience, or that I learned from this experience at least, is the value of reviewing your own play. Because there's so much learning to be done, and the fact is when you're playing and you're in the moment and you're flowing and you're just doing your best, you're going to be making great decisions, but your decisions are going to be affected by emotions and all the things that are going on. And so you can't get the same level of objective analysis in the moment where you just pull up a hand that you played as you can when you come at it completely calm, completely steady, completely logical, and just okay, I just want to learn from the experience. I don't have any emotional attachment because I'm not feeling the waves of the tournament rush right now. I'm just looking to learn. And it's a very, very powerful practice that pays off huge amounts because the information that you learn from each hand history review, you have for the rest of your life. You're refining your tournament thought process for the rest of your life. So every tournament you review, you get to apply that knowledge to all future tournaments you play. It's not like you do it once, you get the benefit once. You do it once, you get the benefit forever. And every extra time you do it, you stack those benefits. So you're increasing your expectations for every future event you play. So worth it! If you enjoyed this video series, please give me a thumbs up to let me know how I'm doing. And if you know someone who could benefit from the information contained in this series, please share this video with them. Or share the whole series with them. It would really help me out, and it would help the Gripsed mission of 100,000 reached and teached. So, thank you. And just because I love teaching so much, here is a bonus video of some extra coverage of the final table with all hands revealed. You are going to be in for some very fun surprises, and there is lots more learning to be done. And of course, if you want to see the whole series as it happened live with all the emotion, all the excitement, you know what to check out. My biggest win ever. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sharing this experience with me and letting me share my experience and my knowledge with you. I hope that you find great benefit in it, and I look forward to reading your feedback in the comments section.